The smell of Emily's perfume lingered in the hallway like a question mark I didn't want to answer. She stood at the mirror by our front door, applying that shade of lipstick she only wore for special occasions. The red one. The one that cost more than I made in half a day running electrical wire through some rich guy's McMansion. "Don't wait up tonight," she whispered, leaning over to kiss my cheek. Her lips barely touched my skin, like she was afraid the lipstick might smudge. I looked up from my newspaper, letting the sports section fold in half. "Tell Mark I said hi." Emily froze. The tube of lipstick slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. Her reflection in the mirror showed everything, the way her eyes went wide, the way her mouth opened just a fraction, the way her hand trembled as she bent to retrieve the fallen makeup. "What did you say?" Her voice came out smaller than usual, like air leaking from a tire. "You heard me." She turned around, and I could see her brain working, calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew. Emily always did that when she got caught in something. Her tell was the way she touched her wedding ring, spinning it around her finger like a prayer wheel. "You're being ridiculous, Sean. Mark is your brother. We'll see about that." I held up her phone, the one she'd left charging on the kitchen counter while she showered, the one with the passcode I'd watched her enter 100 times, the one filled with messages that made my stomach turn inside out. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Emily's face went through about 6 different expressions in the span of 2 seconds. Surprise, anger, fear, calculation, defiance, and finally something that looked almost like relief, like she was tired of pretending. "How long have you been reading my messages?" "Long enough." I scrolled through the conversation thread, reading aloud. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Sean's working late again, as usual. He has no idea what he's missing." "Sean, let me explain." "Oh, it gets better." I kept reading. "Your brother is so clueless. Sometimes I wonder how you two are even related. At least one of you knows how to treat a woman." Emily reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. "There's more. Want to hear the part where you two discuss my work schedule? Or maybe the part where Mark calls me a blue-collar loser who got lucky?" He didn't mean 3 months, Emily. 3 months of messages. 3 months of planning your little dates around my job. 3 months of laughing at me behind my back." She straightened up, and I saw the mask slip back into place. The Emily mask. The one she wore when she needed to be in control, when she needed to win an argument or manipulate a situation. I'd seen it 1,000 times at dinner parties, at family gatherings, whenever someone challenged her version of reality. "You went through my private messages. That's a violation of trust." I had to laugh. Actually laugh. "Trust? You want to talk about trust? We need to discuss this like adults. Adults don't sneak around with their husband's brother." Emily grabbed her purse from the hall table, checking her reflection one more time. The lipstick was perfect again, like nothing had happened, like we hadn't just torn a hole through 8 years of marriage. "I'm going out. We'll talk when I get back." "No, we won't." She paused with her hand on the doorknob. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means don't wait up. I'll be busy." The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. I heard her car start in the driveway, heard the tires squeal as she backed out onto Maple Street. Mrs. Klein from next door would have something to say about that tomorrow. She always did. I sat in the silence of our house, my house, since I'd been the one making the mortgage payments while Emily spent her HR director salary on designer clothes and expensive dinners with my brother. The grandfather clock in the living room ticked away the seconds, each one feeling like a small explosion in the quiet. The phone in my hand buzzed, a text from Mark. "Everything okay? Emily seems upset." I typed back, using Emily's phone. "He knows." 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Mark was panicking, trying to figure out what to say, how to handle this. Good. Let him sweat. My phone rang. Mark's name on the screen. "Sean? What the hell is going on?" "You tell me, brother." "Emily said you went through her phone. That's not cool, man. Everyone deserves privacy." "Everyone deserves a lot of things, like honesty, like loyalty, like not getting stabbed in the back by family." "Look, I don't know what you think you saw. I think I saw my wife making plans to meet my brother at the Riverside Inn. I think I saw conversations about how stupid I am, how boring I am, how I'll never amount to anything more than a guy who fixes other people's electrical problems." Silence on the other end. Then, "Sean, it's not what you think." "Really?" "Because I'm thinking my wife and my brother have been having an affair for 3 months. I'm thinking they've been using my work schedule to plan their meetings. I'm thinking they've been laughing at me this whole time." We never meant for you to get hurt. There it was, the confession. Not an apology, not a denial, just a statement about their intentions. Like that made it better somehow. But I did get hurt, Mark, and now you're both going to understand what that feels like. I hung up and immediately started typing. Emily's phone was still logged into her social media accounts, her work email, her calendar. Everything laid out like a roadmap of her life. First stop, her work calendar. Emily had a meeting with her boss tomorrow about the quarterly HR review. I added a note to her calendar. Discuss inappropriate workplace relationships and company policy violations. Second stop, her Facebook account. I scrolled through her recent posts. All the usual stuff. Inspirational quotes about strong women, photos of expensive meals, check-ins at places I'd never been invited to. I added a new post. Sometimes the hardest thing about marriage is remembering why you got married in the first place. Third stop. Mark's contact information. I had his work number, his personal cell, his girlfriend's number. Wait. Girlfriend. I scrolled back through Emily's messages, looking for any mention of Mark's relationship status. There it was, buried in a conversation from 2 weeks ago. Does Jennifer know you're here? What Jennifer doesn't know won't hurt her. Jennifer, Mark's girlfriend of 2 years, the kindergarten teacher who brought homemade cookies to every family gathering, the woman who'd been asking Emily for wedding planning advice because Mark had been hinting about proposing. My brother wasn't just cheating on me, he was cheating on her too. I opened a new text message to Jennifer. Hi, this is Emily. I think we need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee tomorrow? There's something about Mark you should know. The response came back within minutes. Is everything okay? You're scaring me. Everything will be fine. Just meet me at Cafe Luna at 10 a.m. Come alone. I set Emily's phone aside and walked to the kitchen. The house felt different now, like the air itself had changed. 8 years of marriage, and it had all been a lie. Not just the affair, that was just the latest chapter. The lie was deeper than that. The lie was Emily pretending to love me while looking down on me. The lie was Mark pretending to be my brother while mocking me behind my back. The lie was me pretending I hadn't seen this coming. I'd known something was wrong for months. Emily staying late at work, Emily being secretive about her phone, Emily losing interest in everything we used to do together. I'd told myself it was stress from her job, or maybe she was planning a surprise for our anniversary. I'd made excuses because I wanted to believe the best about the woman I married. But deep down, in the part of my brain that I tried to ignore, I'd known. The same way you know when a wire is about to fail, when a circuit is overloaded, when something that looks fine on the surface is about to spark and burn. I opened a beer and sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by the evidence of our life together. Emily's coffee mug in the sink, still stained with her lipstick. The grocery list on the refrigerator, written in her careful handwriting. The photo from our wedding day, both of us smiling like we believed in forever. Tomorrow, I'd start taking it all apart. Not just the marriage. That was already finished. I'd take apart the comfortable little world Emily and Mark had built for themselves. The world where they could have their cake and eat it too, where they could betray me and still expect me to play the role of the oblivious husband. I pulled out a notebook and started making a list. Emily's weaknesses, Mark's vulnerabilities, all the people who needed to know the truth. This wasn't going to be quick, and it wasn't going to be clean, but it was going to be thorough. My phone buzzed, a text from Emily. We need to talk when I get home. I typed back, Don't wait up. I'm busy planning your future. The quarry hadn't changed in 20 years. Same sticky floors, same neon beer signs, same smell of cigarettes that had somehow survived the smoking ban. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business, which made it perfect for what I had in mind. Linda wiped down the bar with a rag that had seen better days. She'd been working here since before I was old enough to drink, and she had a memory like a steel trap when it came to local gossip. Sean Mallory, she said, not looking up from the glass she was cleaning. Haven't seen you in here for a while. Where's that pretty wife of yours? That's actually what I wanted to talk about. Linda's hands stopped moving. She set down the glass and really looked at me for the first time. Uh-oh, that tone means trouble. You could say that. I ordered a beer and waited while she poured it. The bar was mostly empty, just old Pete in the corner working on his fourth whiskey and 2 guys from the construction crew playing pool. Perfect audience size. Not too small, not too big. Linda, you know how people talk in this town. Honey, talking is our main industry. Has been since the paper mill shut down. Well, I've got something that's going to give people plenty to talk about. She leaned across the bar, lowering her voice. What kind of something? The kind where my wife has been stepping out on me, with my brother. Linda's eyes went wide. She glanced around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned closer. Mark? Your brother Mark? The very same. Holy crap, Sean. Are you sure? I pulled out my phone and showed her some of the text messages I'd screenshotted. Nothing too explicit, but enough to make the situation clear. Linda read them, shaking her head. That little witch, and Mark, I always thought he was too slick for his own good. But this? It gets worse. Mark's got a girlfriend, Jennifer, the teacher. She has no idea. Oh, that poor girl. She's such a sweetheart. She deserves to know the truth. They all do. Linda nodded slowly. What do you need from me? Just let people know what's going on. You know how information spreads around here. By tomorrow night, everyone in town will know that Emily Mallory and Mark Mallory have been carrying on behind Sean's back. Consider it done. But Sean, what about you? What are you going to do? I'm going to make sure they understand that actions have consequences. I finished my beer and left a 20 on the bar. Thanks, Linda. I knew I could count on you. Anytime, honey. And Sean? I'm sorry this happened to you. You deserve better. Outside, the October air was crisp and clean. I sat in my truck for a moment, watching the traffic on Main Street. Normal people going about their normal lives, not knowing that their neighbor's world had just exploded. My phone rang. Tommy, my apprentice. Hey, boss, you okay? You sounded weird when you called earlier. I'm fine. Did you get what I asked for? Yeah, but I still don't understand why you need a GPS tracker. Insurance. Meet me at the shop in 20 minutes. Tommy was waiting when I arrived at Mallory Electric, the small business I'd built from nothing over the past 5 years. He was a good kid, 23, eager to learn, and loyal as a golden retriever. He was also exactly the kind of person who couldn't keep a secret if his life depended on it, which made him perfect for what I had planned. Boss, what's really going on? You look like someone ran over your dog. I handed him a coffee and sat down at my desk. Tommy, how long have you been working for me? 2 years next month. Why? In that time, have I ever asked you to do anything illegal? No, sir. You're the most honest guy I know. Good, because what I'm about to ask you to do isn't illegal. It's just creative. I explained the situation, watching Tommy's face go through the same range of emotions I'd experienced the night before. Shock, anger, disbelief, and finally a kind of grim determination. That's messed up, boss. Really messed up. What do you want me to do? I want you to help me install this tracker on Mark's car. And then I want you to accidentally mention to everyone you know that my wife is cheating on me with my brother. Accidentally? You know, the way information accidentally spreads when people are talking. Tommy grinned. I can accidentally do that? We drove to Mark's condo complex in Tommy's beat-up Honda. Mark's silver BMW was parked in his assigned spot, gleaming under the parking lot lights. It took less than 5 minutes to attach the magnetic GPS tracker under the rear bumper. What now, boss? Now we wait, and we spread the word. Tommy pulled out his phone. I'm texting my girlfriend right now. She knows everyone at the community college. This'll be all over town by morning. Perfect. We drove back to the shop, and I spent the next hour tracking Mark's movements on my phone. He was still at Emily's office building, probably having some kind of crisis meeting, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. At 9:30, the tracker showed Mark's car moving. I followed the route on my phone. He was heading toward the Riverside Inn, the same motel Emily had mentioned in her text messages. Tommy, want to take a little field trip? Hell yes. We followed Mark's route, staying a safe distance behind. The Riverside Inn was exactly what you'd expect from a place that rented rooms by the hour. Peeling paint, broken neon sign, parking lot full of potholes. Emily's car was already there, parked next to room 237. Classy, Tommy muttered. I parked across the street and opened my toolbox. Inside, along with my usual electrical supplies, I'd packed a few special items. A bag of fish guts I'd bought from the bait shop, a can of spray paint, a roll of duct tape. What's the plan, boss? We're going to leave them a little message. I walked over to Mark's BMW and tried the door. Locked, of course, but I'd been an electrician long enough to know how to work around locks. A few minutes with my wire strippers and the door popped open. The smell hit me first. New car smell mixed with expensive cologne. Mark always did like his luxury items. I dumped the fish guts onto the driver's seat, making sure to get some on the steering wheel and dashboard. Then I rolled down all the windows and locked the doors again. Tommy was keeping watch while I worked on the exterior. I used the spray paint to write "cheater" across the windshield, then slashed 2 of the tires for good measure. Boss, someone's coming. I looked up to see the motel room door opening. Emily stepped out, looking around nervously. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, something short and red that probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. "Time to go," I whispered. We made it back to Tommy's car just as Emily spotted her husband's handiwork. Even from across the street, I could hear her scream. "Oh man, she is pissed," Tommy said, trying not to laugh. Mark came running out of the room, still buttoning his shirt. He saw his car and started cursing loud enough to wake the entire motel. Emily was pointing in our direction, but the streetlight was burned out, and I was pretty sure they couldn't see us clearly. My phone buzzed, Emily calling. "Hello, sweetheart?" "Sean, what did you do to Mark's car?" "I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm at home watching television." "Don't lie to me. I know you did this." "Prove it. You're acting like a child." "I'm acting like a man whose wife has been lying to him for 3 months. There's a difference." We need to talk about this rationally. We needed to talk about this rationally 3 months ago, before you started sneaking around with my brother. Now we're past the talking stage. "Sean, please." I hung up and turned off my phone. Tommy was grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. "Boss, that was awesome. What's next?" "Next, we go home and get some sleep. Tomorrow the real fun begins." But I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to every car that drove down our street, waiting for Emily to come home. She didn't. At 3 a.m, I got up and looked out the bedroom window. Her side of the driveway was still empty. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, planning my next move. Emily's work calendar showed a staff meeting at 9 a.m., perfect timing for my coffee date with Jennifer. At 7:30, I drove to Cafe Luna and waited. Jennifer arrived right on time, looking worried and confused. She was exactly as I remembered her. Kind face, honest eyes, the sort of person who probably still believed in happily ever after. "Emily? Where are you?" I stood up from my corner table. "Jennifer, I'm not Emily. I'm Sean, Mark's brother." Her face went through a series of expressions. Confusion, recognition, and then fear. "I don't understand. Emily texted me from this number." "I know. I have Emily's phone. Please sit down. There's something you need to know about Mark." She sat but kept her purse in her lap like she was ready to run. "What's going on? Is Mark okay?" "Mark is fine, but your relationship with him isn't." I showed her the text messages, the same ones I'd shown Linda the night before. Jennifer read them slowly, her face getting paler with each line. "This can't be real." "I'm afraid it is. Mark and Emily have been meeting secretly for months. Last night they were together at the Riverside Inn." Jennifer set the phone down with shaking hands. "We were supposed to go ring shopping this weekend. He said he was ready to propose." "I'm sorry, Jennifer. You deserve to know the truth." She started crying, not the dramatic sobbing you see in movies, but the quiet kind of tears that come when your heart breaks in a public place. I handed her some napkins and waited. "Why are you telling me this?" she finally asked. "Because you're a good person, and good people shouldn't be lied to." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of people they really are." Jennifer wiped her eyes and straightened up. "What can I do to help?" The Riverside Community Center had seen better days, but it was still the go-to venue for family gatherings in our little corner of Maine. Emily's parents had rented the main hall for what they thought was going to be a surprise anniversary party. 8 years of marriage, worth celebrating, according to Emily's mother. I'd helped plan the whole thing, of course. Sent out the invitations, arranged the catering, even hired a photographer. What Emily's family didn't know was that I'd also invited a few extra guests. Mark would be there, naturally. Jennifer had promised to come, and I'd made sure that Linda from the quarry would be working the bar. Emily walked into the hall at exactly 7 o'clock, wearing a blue dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She'd been avoiding me for 3 days, staying at her friend Heather's house and communicating only through text messages about working things out like adults. "Surprise!" everyone shouted as she walked in. Emily's smile looked like it had been painted on with a brush. She hugged her parents, made small talk with her cousins, and kept glancing toward the door like she was expecting someone. She was. Mark was supposed to be here by now. "Sean!" Emily's mother grabbed my arm. This was such a wonderful idea. Emily had no idea we were planning this. "Neither did I, Mrs. Patterson. Neither did I." At 7:15, Mark finally arrived. He looked nervous, sweating through his expensive shirt despite the cool October evening. His eyes found Emily immediately, and I saw them exchange a look across the room, a look that said they'd been talking, planning, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. Jennifer walked in right behind him. Mark's face went white when he saw her. "Jen, what are you doing here?" "Emily invited me," Jennifer said, loud enough for several people to hear. "She said there was something important she wanted to discuss with everyone." I didn't invite anyone, Emily said quickly. I don't know what she's talking about. Really? I pulled out Emily's phone. Because according to your text messages, you specifically asked Jennifer to come tonight. You said, and I quote, "There's something everyone needs to know about Mark and me." The room got quiet. Not completely silent, but that kind of quiet where people stop their conversations and start paying attention to something more interesting. Emily's father stepped forward. "What's going on here, Sean?" "That's a great question, Mr. Patterson. Emily, would you like to answer that, or should I?" Emily looked around the room, calculating her options. About 40 people were staring at her, waiting for an explanation. Family members, friends, co-workers, her entire social circle. "Sean is upset about something," she said carefully. "He's been acting irrationally for the past few days." "Irrationally?" I laughed. "Let me tell you what's irrational. What's irrational is finding out your wife has been having an affair with your brother for 3 months. What's irrational is discovering that they've been using your work schedule to plan their secret meetings. What's irrational is reading text messages where they mock you and call you a blue-collar loser." The quiet turned into actual silence. Even the bartender stopped pouring drinks. Mark stepped forward. "Sean, you're taking this out of context." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app. "Because I have a recording of you from last night. Would you like everyone to hear what you really think about Emily?" Mark's face went from white to green. "You recorded me? You called me, remember, trying to convince me that this was all just a misunderstanding. But then you got frustrated and started talking about how Emily was clingy and desperate and how you were just having some fun before you proposed to Jennifer." Jennifer made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. "You what? That's not... I never said... Play the recording," Jennifer said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. I hit play. Mark's voice filled the room, tinny through my phone's speaker, but clear enough for everyone to understand. "Look, Sean, it's not like I'm in love with her or anything. Emily's just available, and she makes it easy. All that talk about leaving you, that's just her being dramatic. I'm planning to propose to Jen next month. Emily knows that." The recording continued for another 30 seconds, with Mark describing Emily as desperate for attention and pathetic, and saying that he was just having some fun with your wife, brother. Emily's face crumpled, not because she was sorry, but because she'd been humiliated in front of everyone she cared about. Her parents were staring at her like they'd never seen her before. Her cousins were whispering to each other. Her co-workers from the HR department were taking out their phones, probably already texting the news to everyone they knew. "Emily Patterson Mallory," her father said, using her full name like she was 12 years old again. "Is this true?" Emily straightened up, and I saw the mask slip back into place. The Emily mask. The one that said she was the victim, that everyone else was being unreasonable, that she was just trying to live her life. "What's true is that my husband violated my privacy by going through my phone. What's true is that he's been stalking me and Mark, vandalizing property, and now he's trying to humiliate me in front of my family." "What's true," I said, "is that you've been lying to everyone in this room for months." Marriage is complicated, Sean. Sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes they find connection with other people. That doesn't make me a bad person. "No, but lying about it does. Sneaking around does. Making plans to leave me while still taking my money does." Emily's mother stepped forward. "Emily, honey, just tell us the truth. Are you having an affair?" The room held its breath. Emily looked around at all the faces staring at her, waiting for an answer. Her family, her friends, her co-workers, people who had known her since childhood, people who had celebrated her wedding, people who had believed in her marriage. "Yes," she said finally, "but it's not what you think." "Then explain it," her father said. "Sean and I haven't been happy for a long time. We want different things. He's content to stay exactly where he is for the rest of his life, working the same job, living in the same house, never growing or changing. I need more than that." "So you decided to get more with my brother?" "Mark understands me. He has ambition. He wants to build something bigger than just getting by." Jennifer laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Build something? Mark's been lying to both of us. He told me he was ready to settle down, start a family. He told you he was going to leave me. He's been playing us against each other." "That's not true," Emily said, but she was looking at Mark now, uncertainty creeping into her voice. Mark was backing toward the door. "This is crazy. Everyone's overreacting. Jen, Emily, we can work this out. We just need to talk privately." "No," Jennifer said. "We're done talking privately. I want everyone to hear this." She pulled out her phone and started reading. These are text messages Mark sent me yesterday. Emily is losing her mind. She thinks I'm going to leave you for her, but that was never the plan. I just need to keep her happy until this blows over. Then we can get back to normal. Emily's face went through about 6 different expressions: shock, hurt, anger, and finally something that looked like recognition, like she was seeing Mark clearly for the first time. "You said you loved me," she whispered. "I do love you," Mark said, but his voice was panicked now, desperate. "I love both of you. This is just a complicated situation." "No," I said. "It's actually pretty simple. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. You wanted to sleep with my wife and keep your girlfriend. You wanted to mock me behind my back while still showing up to family dinners. You wanted all the benefits and none of the consequences." "Sean, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You're selfish, you're a liar, and you're a coward." Mark took a step toward me. "Watch it, brother." "Or what? You'll do what you did to my marriage? You'll sneak around behind my back some more?" The room was watching us like we were a tennis match. Back and forth, back and forth. But I could see that Mark was losing. His face was red, his hands were clenched into fists, and he was starting to realize that everyone in the room was looking at him like he was something they'd scraped off their shoe. "You know what?" Mark said. "Fine. You want the truth? Here's the truth. Emily came on to me. She was unhappy, she was looking for someone who could give her what she needed, and I was available. I never promised her anything permanent." "That's a lie," Emily shouted. "Is it? Because I seem to remember you being the one who suggested the Riverside Inn. You were the one who said Sean would never find out. You were the one who wanted to keep this going indefinitely." Emily and Mark were turning on each other now, and I could see the crowd starting to enjoy the show. This was better than cable television. This was real-life drama happening right in front of them. "You told me you were going to break up with Jennifer," Emily said. "I told you a lot of things," Mark replied. "That doesn't mean I meant all of them." Emily's father had heard enough. "Both of you need to leave, now." "Dad, please," Emily started. "No, I'm ashamed of you, Emily. This isn't how we raised you, and Mark, I want you to know that you're no longer welcome in our home." Mark was already heading for the door. "This is ridiculous. Everyone's acting like someone got hurt." "Someone did get hurt," Jennifer called after him. "Multiple people got hurt." "Jen, wait. Don't. Just don't." "We're done, Mark. Completely done." Mark left, and Emily followed him, still trying to salvage something from the wreckage. I watched them go, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and sadness. 8 years of marriage, over in about 20 minutes. Emily's mother came over and hugged me. "Sean, I'm so sorry. We had no idea." "I know, Mrs. Patterson. Emily's good at hiding things." "What are you going to do now?" I looked around the room at all the people who had just witnessed the implosion of my marriage. Emily's family, who were looking at me with sympathy and embarrassment. Emily's friends, who were already pulling out their phones to spread the news. Emily's co-workers, who would make sure everyone at her office knew what had happened by Monday morning. "I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else," I said. The party broke up pretty quickly after that. People made awkward small talk for another hour, but everyone was really just waiting for an excuse to leave so they could start making phone calls. By 9 o'clock, the hall was empty except for me and the cleanup crew. I drove home to our empty house and sat in the kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of our life together. Emily's coffee mug was still in the sink. Her grocery list was still on the refrigerator, but everything felt different now, like the house itself knew that the marriage was over. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This isn't over." I typed back, "Yes, it is. Don't wait up." Monday morning brought the kind of October rain that made everything look gray and miserable. I was installing new outlets in a kitchen renovation when my phone started buzzing with calls I didn't recognize. By lunch, I'd received 17 calls from numbers I didn't know and about 30 text messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Word was spreading faster than I'd expected. Tommy showed up at the job site with coffee and a grin that stretched from ear to ear. "Boss, you're famous." "What do you mean?" "I mean, everyone in town is talking about what happened at that party. My girlfriend heard about it from 3 different people this morning. Her sister works at the bank with Emily's cousin, and apparently Emily tried to call in sick today, but her boss already knew what happened." "How?" "Heather was at the party, remember? Emily's friend from work? She's been telling everyone at the office that Emily's having a nervous breakdown and that you're being vindictive." I set down my drill and looked at Tommy. "What exactly is Heather saying?" "That you're trying to destroy Emily's life because you can't handle the fact that she outgrew you, that you violated her privacy and humiliated her in public, that Mark was just being a good friend and you twisted it into something ugly." "A good friend?" That's what she's saying. She's telling people that Emily was going through a rough patch in your marriage and Mark was just providing emotional support. She says the text messages were taken out of context. I had to laugh. Emotional support at the Riverside Inn? I know, right? But some people are buying it, especially the people who don't know you very well. What about the people who do know me? They're on your side. Linda's been telling everyone who comes into the quarry that Emily and Mark are getting what they deserve. Mrs. Klein has been standing on her front porch all morning, waiting for someone to walk by so she can tell them the whole story. Mrs. Klein was 83 years old and had lived on Maple Street longer than anyone else. She knew every piece of gossip in the neighborhood and wasn't shy about sharing it. If she was on my side, half the battle was already won. What about Mark? Haven't seen him, but Jennifer came by the coffee shop this morning. She looked rough, man. Really rough. I felt a pang of guilt about that. Jennifer was collateral damage in this whole mess. She didn't deserve to get hurt just because Mark was a selfish piece of garbage. Is she okay? She will be. She was with her sister, and they were talking about how she's better off without him. Apparently, Mark's been pulling this kind of stuff for a while, staying out late, being secretive about his phone, making excuses about work. My phone rang, Emily's name on the screen. What do you want? Sean, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Has it? Because from where I'm sitting, it hasn't gone far enough. People are calling my office. My boss wants to see me this afternoon. Heather says HR is asking questions about my personal life. Maybe you should have thought about that before you started sleeping with my brother. That's not fair. You're trying to destroy my career over a personal matter. I'm not trying to destroy anything, Emily. I'm just making sure people know the truth about what kind of person you are. What kind of person I am? What about what kind of person you are? Going through my phone, stalking me, recording private conversations. Private conversations where Mark called you pathetic and desperate. Those private conversations? Silence on the other end. Then, he didn't mean that. He meant every word, and you know it. Sean, please, can we just talk? Face to face? Without all this drama? Where? Somewhere neutral, the park by the river. I looked at my watch. 2:30. Fine, 1 hour. But this better not be some kind of ambush. It's not. I just want to explain my side of things. Your side of things is pretty clear, Emily. You wanted someone else, so you took him. End of story. It's more complicated than that. No, it's not. See you in an hour. I hung up and turned to Tommy. I need you to do something for me. Sure, boss. What? I need you to follow me to Riverside Park in about 45 minutes. Stay in your car, but keep an eye on things. If anything weird happens, call the police. You think Emily's going to try something? I think Emily's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. Tommy nodded. You got it. But boss, maybe you should record this conversation too, just in case. Way ahead of you. Riverside Park was mostly empty on a rainy Monday afternoon. A few joggers, an old man walking his dog, some kids on the playground. Emily was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench near the river. She'd been crying. I could tell from the way her makeup was smudged around her eyes. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down next to her. Talk. Sean, I know you're angry. You have every right to be angry, but this public humiliation campaign has to stop. Public humiliation campaign? Don't pretend you don't know what you're doing. You're trying to turn everyone against me, my family, my friends, my coworkers. You want to destroy my entire life because I made one mistake. One mistake? Emily, you had an affair for 3 months with my brother. That's not one mistake. That's a series of deliberate choices. I was unhappy. So talk to me about it. Go to counseling. Don't sneak around behind my back. I tried talking to you. You never listened. When? When did you try talking to me? Emily was quiet for a moment, thinking. Remember last spring? I said we needed to spice things up, try new things together. You mean when you suggested we take that expensive cooking class? The one that cost $300? It wasn't about the money. Everything's about money with you, Emily. The cooking class, the weekend trips, the designer clothes. You wanted to spice things up by spending money we didn't have. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Because I asked you, and you said you wanted us to experience new things together. So I suggested we go camping, or take up hiking, or maybe learn to dance, but none of those ideas were good enough for you. Those aren't the kind of experiences I was talking about. What kind of experiences were you talking about? Emily looked out at the river, watching the rain create ripples on the surface. I wanted us to dream bigger, to want more out of life, to stop being so ordinary. Ordinary? Yes, ordinary. Sean, you're 38 years old, and you're exactly the same person you were when we got married. Same job, same hobbies, same friends, same routine. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you watch TV, you go to bed every single day. And that's a bad thing? It's not a bad thing, it's not enough for me anymore. I stared at her, trying to understand what she was saying. So you decided to have an affair with Mark because he's not ordinary? Mark has ambitions. He wants to travel, to see the world, to build something bigger than just a paycheck-to-paycheck existence. Mark sells houses, Emily. He's not exactly conquering the world. He's building a business. He's making connections. He's planning for the future. He's planning to string you along while he marries Jennifer. Emily flinched. That's not true. It's completely true, and you know it. Mark never had any intention of leaving Jennifer for you. You were just a convenient distraction. You don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and played another recording, this one from a conversation I'd had with Mark 2 days ago. His voice was clear and unmistakable. Sean, you have to understand. Emily was throwing herself at me. I felt bad for her, you know? She seemed so lonely, so desperate for attention. I thought I was doing her a favor. Emily's face crumpled. He said that? He said a lot of things. Want to hear the part where he describes you as pathetic and clingy? Stop. Or the part where he laughs about how easy it was to manipulate you? Stop it. This is who you threw away our marriage for, Emily. A man who thinks you're a joke. Emily started crying again, but this time it was different. Not the calculated tears she used when she wanted sympathy, but the raw, ugly crying that comes when someone realizes they've made a terrible mistake. I thought he cared about me, she whispered. He cared about what you could do for him, the same way you cared about what I could do for you. That's not true. I loved you. No, you loved the idea of me. You loved having a husband who paid the bills and didn't ask too many questions, but you never loved me. I did love you. I still do. Then why did you cheat on me? Emily was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. Because I wanted to feel special again. I wanted someone to look at me the way you used to look at me when we first got married, like I was the most important thing in the world. I still looked at you that way. No, you didn't. You looked at me like I was part of the furniture, like I was just there, part of the routine. Maybe after 8 years, love isn't magic, Sean said. Maybe it's choosing someone every day, even when they're not magic. Emily's tears streaked through the rain. I just wanted to feel it again. So, you destroyed everything we built. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. I can't trust you anymore. She nodded. What happens now? You rebuild your life. I'll rebuild mine. Will you stop humiliating me? I'm not humiliating you, Emily. I just stopped covering for you. She left, and he sat in the rain until his phone buzzed. Everything okay, boss? He typed back, Everything's fine. But it wasn't. It was over. Days later, Emily texted, Meet me at the old mill. One last conversation. Sean knew it was a trap, but went anyway. He called Tommy to watch from outside. If I don't come out in an hour, call the cops. The mill was dark, damp, and silent. Inside, Emily waited with Mark and Heather, who was filming. We need to talk about your harassment, Emily said. Sean laughed. You dragged me here for that? Heather lifted her phone. We have evidence. Threats, damage to Mark's car, witnesses. I work in your building, Emily, Sean said calmly. That's not stalking. Mark stepped forward. You threatened me. I said actions have consequences, not a threat, truth. Heather pressed record. Everything you say can be used against you. Good, Sean replied, because I haven't done anything illegal. The affair, the lies, all documented. And in Maine, recording my own conversations is perfectly legal. The three of them exchanged glances. This wasn't going the way they'd planned. Look, Emily said, trying a different approach. We all made mistakes. But this vendetta of yours is getting out of hand. People are taking sides, spreading rumors, making this into something bigger than it needs to be. People are learning the truth. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should have thought about that before you started lying. We want to make a deal, Mark said. What kind of deal? You stop talking about this. Stop spreading stories, stop encouraging people to gossip. In exchange, we'll all just move on with our lives. And what do I get out of this deal? Peace, Emily said. No more drama, no more conflict. We can all just put this behind us. I looked at the three of them standing there in the flickering light of the abandoned mill, and I had to laugh. You really don't get it, do you? Get what? This isn't about revenge. This isn't about drama. This is about consequences. For 8 years, I covered for you, Emily. I made excuses when you were rude to people. I apologized when you caused problems. I pretended not to notice when you looked down on my friends, my job, my family. I enabled you to be the worst version of yourself because I thought that's what marriage meant. Sean, I'm not finished, and Mark, for 38 years, I looked up to you. You were the successful brother, the one with the fancy car and the nice clothes and the important job. I thought you were someone worth admiring. But you're just a selfish coward who takes what he wants and doesn't care who gets hurt. You don't know what you're talking about, Mark said, but his voice lacked conviction. And Heather, you've spent 2 years pretending to be Emily's friend while encouraging her worst impulses. You love drama, you love gossip, and you love feeling superior to other people. You're not trying to help Emily, you're trying to protect your entertainment source. Heather's mouth fell open. That's not true. It's completely true. And the reason this vendetta bothers you so much is because for the first time in your lives, you're facing real consequences for your actions. People are seeing you clearly, and you don't like what they see. So what do you want? Emily asked. What will it take to end this? Nothing, because it's already over. What do you mean? I mean, I'm done with all of you. I'm filing for divorce next week. I'm selling the house and moving somewhere else. I'm starting over, and none of you are going to be part of my new life. You can't just walk away, Mark said. Watch me. I turned to leave, but Mark grabbed my arm. We're not finished talking. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Mark's grip tightened. You've humiliated me in front of the entire town. You've cost me my relationship with Jennifer. You've damaged my reputation and my business. You owe me. I owe you? You owe me an apology, and you owe me a promise that this harassment will stop. I looked down at Mark's hand on my arm, then back up at his face. He was trying to intimidate me, trying to use physical presence to get what he wanted. It was the same tactic he'd been using his whole life. When charm didn't work, when manipulation didn't work, he'd fall back on being bigger and stronger and more aggressive. Let go of my arm, Mark. Not until you agree to leave us alone. Let go of my arm, or I'll make you let go. You'll what? I twisted out of his grip and took a step back. I'll defend myself. Mark laughed. You? Against me? Try me. For a moment, I thought he might actually do it. Mark was bigger than me, probably stronger, and definitely angrier. But he was also soft from years of sitting behind a desk, and I was in the best shape of my life from 8 years of manual labor. More importantly, I was done being afraid of him. This is getting out of hand, Emily said. Both of you need to calm down. I am calm, I said, but your boyfriend here seems to think he can intimidate me into keeping quiet about what you've done. He's not my boyfriend, Emily said quickly. Mark turned to stare at her. What? We're not together, Mark. We never were together. It was just a mistake. A mistake? A temporary lapse in judgment. I was confused, I was unhappy, and I made some bad choices. But I never meant for it to become this big thing. Mark's face went through several different expressions. Confusion, hurt, anger, and finally understanding. You're throwing me under the bus. I'm trying to be honest about what happened. Honest? You're trying to save yourself by making me look like the villain. You are the villain, I said. You both are. The only difference is that Emily's finally smart enough to realize it. Shut up, Mark snapped. This is between me and Emily. No, it's not. This involves all of us, and I'm done pretending otherwise. I started walking toward the exit, but Mark moved to block my path. You're not leaving until we settle this. There's nothing to settle. There's everything to settle. You've destroyed my life over a stupid affair that didn't mean anything to anyone. It meant something to Jennifer. Jennifer will get over it. Will she? Because from what I hear, she's telling everyone in town exactly what kind of man you really are. Mark's hands clenched into fists. You turned her against me. I told her the truth. She turned against you all by herself. The truth? The truth is that you're a pathetic loser who couldn't keep his wife happy. The truth is that Emily came to me because she was desperate for someone who actually understood her. The truth is that you're so boring, so ordinary, so completely mediocre that your own wife had to look elsewhere for excitement. And the truth is that you're a liar and a coward who destroys other people's relationships because you're too selfish to build anything real for yourself. Mark took a swing at me. I saw it coming and ducked, letting his momentum carry him past me. He stumbled and nearly fell, catching himself on a piece of rusted machinery. Mark, stop! Emily shouted, but Mark was beyond listening. He came at me again, this time more carefully, trying to grab me rather than punch me. We grappled for a few seconds, knocking over the lantern and plunging the room into near darkness. I managed to get behind him and wrap my arm around his neck, not trying to choke him, but just trying to control him. Calm down, Mark. This isn't going to solve anything. Let go of me. Not until you stop trying to fight me. Mark struggled for another few seconds, then went limp. Okay, I'm done. I released him and stepped back. Mark turned around, breathing hard, his shirt torn and his face flushed. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. I picked up the fallen lantern and handed it to Emily. Find your own way out, all of you. I walked out of the mill and back to my truck, where Tommy was waiting with his engine running and his phone in his hand. Everything okay, boss? Everything's fine. Let's go home. What happened in there? The end of a very long story. As we drove away, I could see Emily, Mark, and Heather standing in the doorway of the mill, illuminated by the lantern's glow. They looked small and lost, like children who had wandered too far from home. I didn't feel sorry for them. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered by a courier who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I signed for them at the kitchen table where Emily and I used to eat breakfast together, back when we still pretended to be happy. Emily's lawyer had been thorough. She wanted half of everything: the house, the business, my retirement account, even my truck. According to the papers, she was claiming emotional distress and seeking compensation for the public humiliation and harassment she'd endured. I called my own lawyer, a guy named Dave Morrison, who specialized in messy divorces. Sean, I've got to be honest with you. Emily's painting a pretty ugly picture here. She's claiming you've been stalking her, threatening her, trying to destroy her reputation. What kind of evidence does she have? Witness statements, mostly. Her friend Heather claims you've been following Emily around town. Her coworker Brady says you called her office making threats, and Mark is backing up their story. It's all lies, Dave. I believe you. But lies can be convincing if they're told well enough. We need to build a defense. What kind of defense? Evidence of the affair, for starters. In Maine, adultery can affect the division of assets. If we can prove Emily was unfaithful, we might be able to protect your business and your savings. I have plenty of evidence. Good. But we also need to address these harassment allegations. Do you have any witnesses who can testify to your whereabouts during the times Emily claims you were following her? I thought about it. Mrs. Klein, my neighbor. She keeps track of everyone's comings and goings. Perfect. Anyone else? Linda at the quarry. Tommy, my apprentice. Half the town, actually. Emily's not exactly popular around here anymore. That could work in our favor. But Sean, I need to warn you about something. Emily's lawyer is good. Really good. And she's not just going after your assets. She's going after your reputation. What do you mean? She's planning to file a restraining order. She wants to paint you as an unstable, potentially dangerous man who can't accept that his marriage is over. That's ridiculous. Maybe, but if she gets that restraining order, it'll be public record. It'll show up in background checks, it'll affect your business, it'll follow you around for years. So what do? We fight back. Hard. Dave was right about Emily's strategy. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for the following Friday, and Emily's lawyer had invited half the town to watch the show. The courthouse was packed with people I recognized, some supporters, some just curious, some who clearly thought I was getting what I deserved. Emily took the stand first, looking like the perfect victim in a conservative blue dress and minimal makeup. She spoke in a soft, trembling voice about how I'd become increasingly unstable and threatening since discovering her affair. He went through my private messages, she testified. He recorded my phone conversations without my knowledge. He followed me to work, to restaurants, even to my friend's house. He vandalized my friend's car and left threatening notes. What kind of threatening notes? Emily's lawyer asked. Things like, don't wait up, and you'll pay for this. He was trying to intimidate me into staying in a marriage I no longer wanted to be part of. Did you ever fear for your physical safety? Yes, especially after the incident at the paper mill. He lured me there under false pretenses and became violent when I tried to leave. Objection, Dave said. The witness is characterizing events not in evidence. Sustained, the judge said, but the damage was done. Emily continued her testimony for another 20 minutes, painting a picture of a controlling, vindictive husband who couldn't accept rejection. She was good at it. I had to give her credit for that. She made herself sound reasonable and sympathetic, like a woman who had simply fallen out of love and was being punished for her honesty. Mark testified next, backing up Emily's story and adding some details of his own. According to Mark, I had threatened him multiple times, damaged his property, and tried to turn the entire town against him. Sean has always been jealous of me, Mark said. Even when we were kids, he resented my success. When he found out about Emily's feelings for me, that resentment turned into something darker. Emily's feelings for you? Dave asked during cross-examination. Yes. Emily confided in me that she was unhappy in her marriage. She was looking for someone to talk to, someone who would understand her situation. And you understood her situation? I tried to be supportive. By having an affair with your brother's wife? Objection, Emily's lawyer said. Withdrawn, Dave replied. No further questions. Heather was the third witness, and she was the most convincing of all. She spoke about how I had systematically destroyed Emily's support network by spreading rumors and encouraging gossip. Emily is one of the kindest, most generous people I know, Heather said. She made a mistake. She'll be the first to admit that. But Sean's response has been completely disproportionate. He's trying to destroy her life over a relationship that was already over. The relationship was over? Emily's lawyer asked. Emily told me she was planning to ask Sean for a divorce. She'd been unhappy for months. The situation with Mark was just a symptom of deeper problems in the marriage. When it was my turn to testify, I felt like I was swimming upstream. Emily's team had done a good job of controlling the narrative, and I could see doubt in the faces of some of the people in the courtroom. Dave walked me through the timeline of events, letting me tell my side of the story. I explained how I'd discovered the affair, how I'd tried to handle it privately at first, how Emily and Mark had continued lying even after being confronted with evidence. Did you ever threaten your wife or your brother? Dave asked. No. I told them there would be consequences for their actions, but I never threatened violence. Did you follow your wife or stalk her? I went to her office building because I had work there. I went to places where I knew she'd be because I wanted to talk to her, but I never followed her or spied on her. Did you vandalize your brother's car? I hesitated for just a moment. I was angry. I did some things I'm not proud of, but I never threatened anyone's safety. What things? I put fish guts in his car. I wrote cheater on his windshield. I slashed his tires. A murmur went through the courtroom. I could see Emily's lawyer smiling. Why did you do those things? Because I was hurt and angry, and I wanted him to understand what it felt like to have something important to him damaged. Do you regret those actions? I regret that it came to that, but I don't regret making sure Mark faced consequences for what he did. Emily's lawyer cross-examined me for 45 minutes, trying to make me sound unstable and vindictive. She asked about the recordings, the gossip campaign, my confrontation with Mark at the mill. Isn't it true, Mr. Mallory, that you've spent the past month trying to destroy your wife's reputation? I've spent the past month making sure people know the truth. The truth as you see it? The truth as it actually happened. But you recorded private conversations without the other party's knowledge. I recorded conversations I was part of. That's legal in Maine. Legal, perhaps, but ethical? More ethical than lying and cheating. You vandalized property. I damaged my brother's car. I paid for the repairs. You encouraged others to spread gossip about your wife. I told people what had happened. They drew their own conclusions. You lured your wife to an abandoned building and became violent when she tried to leave. I met my wife at a location she chose. When my brother tried to physically intimidate me, I defended myself. The hearing lasted all day. By the time both sides had finished presenting their cases, I was exhausted and frustrated. Emily's team had done a good job of making me look like an unstable, vengeful husband. My team had presented the facts, but facts don't always win in court. Judge Martinez took a 15-minute recess to consider her decision. When she returned, the courtroom was silent. This is a difficult case, she began. Both parties have presented compelling testimony, and it's clear that this marriage has ended in a particularly acrimonious way. She looked at Emily, then at me. However, after reviewing all the evidence and testimony, I find that the petitioner has not met the burden of proof required for a restraining order. While Mr. Mallory's actions may have been inappropriate and hurtful, they do not rise to the level of harassment or stalking as defined by Maine law. Emily's face crumpled. Her lawyer whispered something in her ear, but she shook her head. The petition for a restraining order is denied. However, I would strongly encourage both parties to minimize contact during the divorce proceedings and to conduct themselves with dignity and respect. The gavel came down, and it was over. Outside the courthouse, Emily's supporters clustered around her, offering comfort and reassurance. My supporters, Mrs. Klein, Linda, Tommy, and a few others, congratulated me on the victory. But it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like the end of something that had been fading for a long time. Dave walked me to my truck. That went better than I expected. Emily's lawyer is good, but she overplayed her hand. The judge saw through the victim act. What happens now? Now we negotiate the divorce settlement. And Sean? After today, I think we're in a much stronger position. He was right. Word of the failed restraining order spread through town faster than the original affair gossip. People who had been on the fence about the situation started taking sides more definitively. Emily's credibility took a hit, and Mark's reputation suffered even more damage. Jennifer, who had been quietly rebuilding her life since the breakup, started dating a teacher from the next town over. When someone asked her about Mark, she just smiled and said, "That's ancient history." Emily's boss at the HR firm called her in for a meeting. According to Tommy's girlfriend, who heard it from her sister who worked at the bank, Emily was being transferred to a different department with reduced responsibilities. Officially, it was described as a lateral move. Unofficially, everyone knew it was a demotion. Mark's real estate business started losing clients. In a small town, reputation is everything, and Mark's reputation was now toxic. People didn't want to work with someone they saw as untrustworthy and disloyal. Heather tried to distance herself from the whole situation, claiming she had just been trying to support her friend, but her credibility was damaged too, and her coworkers at the insurance company started treating her with suspicion and disdain. 3 weeks after the hearing, Emily called me. "Sean, we need to talk about the settlement." "Talk to Dave. He's handling the divorce." "I want to talk to you directly, without lawyers." "Why?" "Because I think we can work something out that's fair to both of us." "Fair?" "I'm willing to accept less than half of the assets if you'll agree to stop the campaign against me." "There is no campaign, Emily. There are just consequences." "Please, Sean. I'm losing everything. My job, my friends, my reputation. I made a mistake, but I don't deserve to have my entire life destroyed." "You didn't make a mistake, Emily. You made a series of choices, and now you're living with the results of those choices. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive me?" I thought about that question for a long time. Could I forgive Emily? Maybe, eventually. Could I trust her again? Never. Could I go back to pretending that our marriage had been something it wasn't? Absolutely not. "Emily, I don't hate you, but I don't want to be married to you anymore, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life cleaning up the messes you make." "So that's it? 8 years of marriage, and you're just walking away?" "You walked away first, Emily. 3 months ago, when you decided Mark was more important than our marriage. I'm just making it official." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "What do you want from me?" "I want you to sign the divorce papers and move on with your life. Find someone who makes you happy. Build something real instead of tearing down what other people have built." "And in return?" "In return, I'll stop telling people about what happened. Not because you deserve it, but because I'm tired of talking about it." "Deal?" "Deal." Emily signed the divorce papers the following week. The settlement was more generous to her than she deserved, but less than she had originally demanded. She got enough money to start over somewhere else, which was exactly what she needed to do. Mark left town 2 months later, claiming he had found a better opportunity in Portland. Everyone knew he was running away from his reputation, but no one said it out loud. Heather transferred to the company's office in Bangor, citing personal reasons. And me? I sold the house on Maple Street and bought a small cabin on a lake about an hour north of town. I kept the business, but hired another electrician to handle the local jobs while I focused on commercial work in bigger cities. Mrs. Klein came to see me before I moved. "Sean, honey, I'm going to miss having you as a neighbor." "I'll miss you too, Mrs. Klein." "You did the right thing, you know, standing up for yourself. A lot of men would have just taken it and pretended everything was fine." "I couldn't do that." "I know. That's what made you different from your brother." She hugged me goodbye, and I realized that she was right. I was different from Mark. I was different from Emily. I was different from all the people who thought that lying and cheating and manipulating others was just part of life. I was someone who believed that actions should have consequences. And sometimes being that kind of person means you have to be willing to enforce those consequences yourself. The last text I sent to Emily was simple. "Don't wait up." She never replied. Shuckstu. Epilogue. The last night. 6 months later, I was sitting on the deck of my new cabin, watching the sun set over the lake, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Jennifer. I heard you moved away. I wanted to thank you for telling me the truth about Mark. I'm getting married next month to someone who actually deserves me. I hope you're happy." I typed back, "Congratulations. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Another text came through a few minutes later, this one from Linda at the quarry. "Emily came by tonight. She's moving to California. Wanted you to know she's sorry for everything. Thought you might want to hear that." I stared at that message for a long time, thinking about Emily and Mark and everything that had happened. Part of me felt sorry for them. They had destroyed their lives over something that had never been real in the first place. But mostly, I felt relieved. Relieved that it was over, relieved that I had stood up for myself, relieved that I was finally free to build something better. I deleted the message and put my phone away. Tomorrow, I would start working on a new project, rewiring a historic hotel in Bar Harbor. It was challenging work, the kind that required patience and skill and attention to detail, the kind of work I was good at, the kind of work that actually mattered. As the stars came out over the lake, I realized that for the first time in months, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't thinking about Emily or Mark or any of the people who had tried to make me feel small. I was just thinking about tomorrow and all the tomorrows after that, and I was finally ready to stop waiting up for a life that was never going to come back.